Commander Jathic stood before the Galactic Council, his crystalline exoskeleton still bearing scorch marks from Earth's orbit. The assembled representatives of 17 conquered species watched in silence as the apex predator of the Krevnath Dominion struggled to find words. "They should have broken," he hissed, his translator struggling with the emotion in his voice. "Every species breaks when faced with superior force. It is the way of the universe." The council chamber remained silent. They had all heard the reports. 3 Krevnath battle fleets, forces that had subjugated entire star systems, had retreated from a single human world. The impossible had occurred. Ambassador Chen walked into the chamber without permission, flanked by 2 human soldiers. The guards didn't carry plasma rifles or fusion cannons. They carried primitive kinetic weapons that should have been museum pieces. Yet every alien in the room instinctively recoiled. "Commander Jathic," Chen said, her voice calm. "You wanted to understand why we didn't surrender. I'm here to explain." Jathic's mandibles clicked in irritation. "Your world was hours from glassing. Your cities were in flames. Your military was scattered. By every logical calculation, you had lost." Chen smiled, that peculiar human expression that showed teeth. "That's where you misunderstood us. Humans don't surrender because the math says we should. We fight because the math says we can't win." She activated a holographic display. Images flickered to life. Ancient human warriors facing impossible odds. Thermopylae, the Alamo, Stalingrad, Britain standing alone. Every image showed humans outnumbered, outgunned, facing extinction. "You studied our military capabilities," Chen continued. "You analyzed our weapons, our ships, our technology. You calculated everything except the one factor that defines humanity. We are persistence predators who evolved by refusing to quit." Jathic's razor-sharp claws scraped against his armrest. "We are apex predators. We evolved at the top of our food chain." "We conquered. You evolved to kill quickly," Chen interrupted. "We evolved to kill eventually. There's a difference." The hologram shifted, showing footage from the Battle of Earth's orbit. Damaged human vessels, leaking atmosphere and trailing debris, continued firing even as they burned. Ships with catastrophic damage rammed Krevnath dreadnoughts rather than retreat. Escape pods didn't flee. They maneuvered to attack positions. "When you destroyed our orbital platforms, our pilots ejected and continued fighting in EVA suits with personal weapons," Chen explained. "When you breached our surface defenses, our civilians picked up rifles and joined the front lines. When you thought you'd won, you discovered that every human is a soldier when their home is threatened." One of the council members, a methane-breathing creature called a Voss, spoke through its translator. "But surely you understood the futility. The Krevnath have never been defeated." Chen's expression hardened. "That's because you've never faced a species that weaponized stubbornness over millions of years. Our ancestors hunted megafauna by following them until they collapsed from exhaustion. We didn't have claws or venom or armor. We had endurance and the absolute refusal to give up." She walked closer to Jathic, and the commander, a being who had personally killed thousands, leaned back. "You wanted us to break? Commander, we're the species that invented the concept of hold the line. We're the species that, when told a battle was hopeless, made hopeless last stands into cultural legends. We're the species that looked at Mount Everest and said, 'I'll climb that because it's there.'" The hologram now showed post-battle footage. Humans pulling survivors from rubble, humans rebuilding, humans organizing relief efforts while simultaneously fortifying for the next attack. No panic, no despair, just methodical, stubborn determination. "You glassed 3 of our cities," Chen said quietly. "And within hours, convoys from 50 other cities were heading to those ruins with supplies, medical personnel, and construction equipment. You wanted to break our spirit? You gave us a reason to dig our heels in deeper." Jathic finally found his voice. "Your losses were catastrophic. How can you claim victory?" "Because you're here," Chen replied simply. "Because 3 of your fleets turned back. Because for the first time in your empire's history, you encountered a species that made you question whether conquest was worth the cost." She turned to address the full council. The Krevnath dominated because they perfected overwhelming force. But Earth taught them something they'd never learned, that some prey don't run. Some prey turn and fight no matter how damaged, how tired, how hopeless it seems. And when that prey is human, retreat becomes the logical choice for any predator. The hologram shifted one final time, showing a simple image. A human child planting a tree in the crater where a city once stood. The symbolism was clear. Humanity would rebuild, would endure, would persist. We don't need to be the strongest species, Chen concluded. We just need to be the most stubborn. And Commander Jothic, if you ever return to Earth, you'll discover we're just getting started. Because humans don't just survive extinction events, we thrive despite them. Jothic remained silent, his predatory pride warring with a new unfamiliar emotion, respect tinged with something close to fear. The Krevnath had conquered worlds by making surrender the logical choice. They had never encountered a species for whom logic was secondary to determination. As Chen left the council chamber, the assembled aliens understood a fundamental shift had occurred in galactic power dynamics. The apex predators had been humbled, not by superior technology or overwhelming force, but by a species that simply refused to accept defeat. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and the universe would never be the same.